to find some balance in my life. I never really put up a fight, and now I'm losing sleep. What if I lost touch? What if I'll never get it right?
You guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about self-care in terms of beauty, which is something that I usually avoid completely because I think a lot of times, especially in our society, self-care and beauty are marketed very heavily together. And so I think a lot of times people like draw the comparison that, okay, well, self-care is just like a face mask and, you know, taking care of our outer appearance, when I don't believe in that at all. But in the same breath, I also believe that feeling good about yourself and, you know, when it comes from a place of a healthy place, for me, why shouldn't you want to feel beautiful? And that can be in an outer way that is not, you know, strictly from the inside as well. So I wanted to have a video like this for you guys, and I'm excited to share that.
I feel like I was never hurt. All I wanted was to be alone. All I wanted was to be alone. Tell yours if you want. You're right, 'cause those ups and those downs is what makes it worth it. Slow it down. Tell yours if you want.
So I wanted to have this in this video because every now and again we're gonna have fun on here. I'm gonna show you products and all the fun like parts of, you know, what happens here on YouTube for me. But I also want to have moments like this where you grab a cup of tea and I have a blanket on and you do the same, and we kind of have, you know, a little bit of like a deeper moment too, because I think that's important. There are a ton of self-care routines on here. There's a ton of beauty, you know, Pamper routines and things like that. But for me, this feels very important, is to bring you in like another layer with me. That's just something that it wouldn't feel authentic if I didn't do that. So for me, I wanted to make sure that I included a conversation on, you know, why these things are so difficult for us sometimes, in the sense of why is it so hard for some people to take a compliment? Like, it's so difficult sometimes for someone to acknowledge their beauty or their energy or their worth. And that is a whole conversation that we will get into little by little, and it'll be part of my work throughout my life as well, because I want everyone to, you know, recognize their insecurities, recognize their doubts, recognize their, you know, stuff inside of them, which I have as well, but then be able to move through it, to accept a compliment, and to, you know that even if you don't feel like the most beautiful person in the world, do you need to? Is that important? Like, is that what this life is intended for? Is it intended for having only the best skin and the best makeup products? And, you know, we live in a very superficial world. Like, it's just a real thing. And I would hate for anyone to feel like their worth is so heavily attached to that construct that lives within our society. And the reason why I want that is because I used to feel that way, and I still do from time to time. Like, there's no question. I have my insecurities, I have my moments, and I have ways now to move through them and to recognize that I am so much more than this body, these looks, this hair, all these outer things are not it. They're not what we are here to do on this earth, right? And so I wanted to say that for anyone who's there, I've been there too, and I want to relate to you in that way. And I want to kind of show you how I work through that. So it's kind of hard to like show you tangibly because a lot of it is done through my mind. But the first thing for me that I want to make sure that I share is that I used to feel a lot of worth attached to my looks, only for the fact that I didn't feel like I had a lot of worth in other ways. So when you know, don't feel like you're really smart, or you don't feel like you are athletic, or I'm trying to think of like other things when I was like younger that like weren't my thing. So I was like, well, I'm pretty enough. Better play that up, right? Like, I think it's one of those things of like, it's all I have, so I better like make sure I have it. And I've seen that with people, and there's nothing wrong with it necessarily. It's just that it can be really sad and a really limiting way of going through this life. So for example, someone who's like, well, I really just have a good body. That's it. That's all I feel like I have. Guess who's going to the gym more than probably anyone else? They want to play up that one strength. And that's the thing that I want to challenge, is that these are just constructs that we have in our society that don't need to be there. They don't need to be that you have to play up this strength. You don't exist to be beautiful. You don't exist to, you know, have all these things. They're just components of this life. And so for me, when I am feeling, for example, this is a big one, and this is something that I'm really happy to share with you all, because I know that so many of you will go through this too, of when you're on Instagram or you're scrolling or you're comparing yourself to someone. It's important to recognize that that's happening, to be aware first. That's always the first step, is being aware that that's happening. And then how do we move through that? Like, how do we separate, okay, that's them, this is us, blah, blah, blah. You have to start really, really small, right? So you cannot just go, in my opinion, and tackle that beast of, I'm not gonna, you know, compare myself anymore. I'm not gonna be jealous. It's not gonna work like that. You have to start really small. And so for me, words of affirmation were huge in the beginning, especially when I was like starting to heal my relationship with my body and food and stuff like that. Small affirmations were everything to me. So saying to myself, you're more than this body. I had to stay there for maybe a good year. Like, that's all I worked on, was saying to myself in the mirror, or writing down to myself, you are more than this body. You are more than this home that you exist in. Your talents, your energy, your love, your purpose is bigger than this body, than this face, than this, you know, outer shell that you walk around with. And so I think that that would be my first thing for anyone who's like, where do I start? Start there and stay there. Stay with what is an affirmation that you can say to yourself, or write to yourself, or write little notes to yourself of, what is it for you? For me, it was that you're more than this. You have more to give than your shell. And in the beauty space, a lot of times people get hindered by that. I kind of talked about how you can start to transition through those feelings of insecurity and those feelings of, you know, comparison and stuff like that, is starting small with it. I think that that is the best way to tackle anything that you've identified as, you know, something that's going on inside of you. But then past that, so now let's kind of fast forward a little bit. I've been doing personal work on myself for 7 years at least. Like, I went to school for 4 years for psych, and then I went for my master's. So something that you just kind of naturally do when you're in that field specifically is you tend to work on yourself, right? You're getting ready to be the psychologist. Therefore, you're gonna notice a lot of things about yourself very quickly. And I definitely did. So I've been working on this stuff, if you will, for a while. So fast forward now to where I am not as painfully hollow as I used to be. In fact, I would say I'm not hollow at all. I recognize that there's so much depth to me now. There's so much beauty beyond my face and this body inside of me, and the beauty that I can give to this world, that I'm so proud of that. And that's something that I wanted to really emphasize, is that when you get there, or when you're starting to get there, or when you're acting as if, that's something you're going to hear me say many times. Sometimes we have to like act as if, or step into something before we really even truly mean it. But when you are able to act as if, or then truly eventually believe it, it is a powerful thing. So for me now, I know that I'm beautiful. Like, even just hearing me say that, a part of me is like, girl, why are you saying that? Like, that's conceited. Like, you can't be talking about yourself like that. But the real part of me is like, you're beautiful, period. And I want that for every person. I want you to be able to, you know, recognize that it's okay to show yourself off if that makes you feel good. It's okay to, you know, play up features that you love. It's okay to recognize that I feel more beautiful when I'm A, B, C, or D. Like, it's okay to step into that as well. So as much as this is the dance that I was kind of talking about when I started this video, of there's a balance between we're so much more than our looks, And then also the balance of, but I want to enjoy my looks. I want to play this up. I want to have fun and, you know, feel sexy or beautiful or show some skin, like whatever it is for you, that's cool too. And I think that's something that's not always talked about. I think a lot of times it's like either or, like pick a side. And it can be both. It can be, I recognize my insecurities and I'm very real and raw about them. And I also recognize that I'm absolutely beautiful and heads can turn when they look at me, right? Like you can have both. And this is the dance that I was kind of talking about in the intro of, you can recognize that you have insecurities and, you know, you have these parts of you that feel deeply, you know, like you want to compare to others and you don't feel good enough or worthy and all these things. And then you can also recognize that in the process of getting there and trying to learn to make yourself feel more worthy way beyond your outer appearance is also feel free to play up if you do feel good, right? Like for example, I'm a few years like deep into my work on myself, but I feel beautiful when I show some skin and I put on makeup and I go and I dance with some girlfriends. Like that makes me feel beautiful and sexy and desired, and that's okay too. I think that that's the tricky part, is that it has to start inside. So once you have it inside, it's a different feeling, and I promise it's such an authentic feeling for someone to say to you, you know, so let's just pretend, let's go back, I don't know, 6 years ago for me, if someone would have said you're beautiful, I don't know what I would have said. I could have just been like, oh really, you think? Like, you know, maybe something like that. Whereas if you fast forward to now, if someone said you look beautiful and you say thank you and you don't think twice about it, that is such a feeling. And I had to pretend for a long time, right? I would just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you all those years. And then eventually you believe it. When someone says to me, you're beautiful, I believe them now. And when I say to someone, you're beautiful, or, you know, you look amazing, or whatever it is, I hope they believe me. And I want everyone to know what that authentic feeling feels like, because I think it's really important in our society especially. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love these like chit chats that we get to have and going a little deeper. And if you like them too, let me know, comment down below. I think that it's important in this space especially that we have these conversations as well. And I will see you all in the next
wanted to
video.
get it right, trying to find some balance in my life. I never really put up a fight.